Hello friends, it's Simone or Simone, your favorite neighborhood nerd, and I want to answer the 8 more pen questions of 2025. Yay! This all started with Leanne from Leanne Likes and I in 2023. When Leanne reached out to me to ask if I was interested in doing a collab video with her. But I said, well, I really do not want to do an ink exchange because I have so many ink samples. And so we decided, you know what, we could do a video Zoom call and talk about our fountain pen lives. And that's when we came up with a set of 8 questions that we both answered. Of course, I'm the angsty type, and my questions were very much about what do you do when you have too many pens? What's your grail pen? How many pens do you think is enough? And all that jazz. Hers were more, how did you get into fountain pens? And stuff like that. That's what we talked about in that first video in 2023. And then in 2024, people asked if we were going to revive that. And we had the idea to invite the fountain pen community to respond to those questions as well. And I made this whole schedule and we did a whole train so that every day a video was published in 2024. I have a playlist of those videos down in the comments linked below. And if you're interested, you can go back down there and check them all out. And people were expressing that it's nice that you are answering the same question again, but maybe next year you can do the same thing with 8 more pen questions. And so on my Discord server, we came up with 8 more pen questions, mostly because I believe in the power of community, and also because I don't have so much time right now as I did previously that I could dedicate. I could dedicate the time to come up with all of this myself, but then other things that fill my cup will suffer. And so I said, you know what? Why don't we as a community come together and pose those questions, vote on which ones we like best. And that's exactly what we did. We compiled the 8 questions that received the most votes. And everyone in this community, you as well, are invited to respond to 8 more pen questions 2025. And if you haven't responded to the 8 pen questions of 2024, absolutely you can respond to those as well. Maybe make 2 videos back to back, the 8 pen questions of 2024 and then the 8 more pen questions of 2025. I'm trying to add all of the videos that I find into a playlist on my channel. One is called the 8 pen questions of 2024. The other one is called the 8 more pen questions of 2025. But I have also a form that I will link in the comment description box. Well, down below this video, where you can fill out the form, because I am not scouring the internet and waiting. You can tag me. I see tags. You can fill out the form. The questions are listed there as well. So you can use them to make your video. And then I will share it on my community page, add it to my playlist, because I think All of you are amazing and need the as much exposure as you can get. Yes, I know, I'm not the biggest fountain pen YouTuber out there, but if we all rally together, this is what his community is all about. So, thanks for listening to this humongous long introduction. I am going to talk about question number 1. I'm writing this with my Pilot Custom 823 in amber with a medium 14 karat gold nib, and the ink that is inside is Ackerman SBRE Brown. The question is, do you have different pens for different uses? And the short answer to that is yes. The long answer to that is also yes. I have different categories that I put my pens into, mainly because I'm that angsty type of person. This gives me a lot of peace of mind. I have functional pens like this. This is a TWSBI Mini Diamond AL Silver, I believe it is called. It has a reverse architect nib ground by Kirkspear of Penrealm, and it is filled with a document black ink, and I use it all the time for journaling and sketching. I have a couple more functional pens. I think currently there is some of the pens that are part of this functional lineup would be this Pilot Vanishing Point with an extra fine nib. The same thing would be this Sailor Pro Gear with an extra fine nib. I also have this one, is a Sailor Pro Gear Slim Mini. It has a medium fine nib that I don't really use in my rotation pens. I declared it a functional pen. I use a dark ink in this if I want to journal or use it in my planner with a different color. That's one of those. Then I have a huge amount, as you can see here, of pens that I call my rotation pens. These are the pens that I use regularly with colorful inks for journaling, letter writing, fun experiments, playing with my pens. Well, because I'm struggling with the playing with my pens, mostly for writing, and not in a small grid on paper where nib sizes don't matter, where I can play a little with my pens, but where I can write. For instance, I've been using my pens in this Hobonichi Hon from 2024 and used it for journaling, long form journaling. Then I have a category that are specifically play pens. These are all Pilot Parallels. I don't expect myself to use, there's a lot of shimmer in this, to use these with in my journaling on a daily basis, like I would these. Why do I have these categories? As I said, because I'm an angsty person. I overthink everything all the time. You don't have to do this, but it helps me to just, have pens that I might not use all the time, but that I use for specific things, and they are amazing and enjoyable for those specific things. Like this title right here. I used this Wansai Mini that I have fitted with a 2.4 Pilot Parallel nib, and the ink that is in here is actually Wearing Ghoul A-Star Spattered Hill, which is one of my favorite shimmer inks. I just love how it looks. And, you know, having these pens and not having the expectations, oh, I haven't used this pen in 3-4 weeks, helps me. Yeah, it's a play pen. I haven't had time to play. It's all fine. That might not make sense for a lot of people. It does make sense to me, and it definitely, my main goal with this is life is too short to angst over hobbies, I believe, and I really want to get away from that mindset. And if I can do that by categorizing my pens in different categories, oh, heck yeah, I'm going to do that, because then I'm going to be able to enjoy all the pens. I'm not fretting about numbers. I'm not fretting about not using a pen too regularly. All of that helps me enjoy my pens more. I have another category. These are called the Just Here pens. I might give them away. I might keep them if I have an art project in mind. There hasn't been an art project yet, but maybe I will have one. I have one that I use for comparisons in my new pen day videos. Pens that don't have specific uses right now, they might be too cheap, like financially, not in construction. Like, they're so affordable that it doesn't make sense for me to sell them or get rid of them, just in case I might have a use case for them at one point. Right now, they're just living in this pen case and seem to be doing quite well. And the last category of pens is these two. These are retired pens. And that's all the different categories I have and the pens that I use in different ways. And this is how I am able to enjoy all the different pens that I have in my collection. For all of these voiceover sections, I'm sitting right next to my dog Max, who is chewing on something, so you might be hearing some dog chewing noises in the background. Question number 2 is called, how do you choose the pens and inks you use next? And I'm writing this with the Asveen V126 in transparent clear or clear transparent with a medium nib, and the ink that is inside this pen is Color Traveler Sanuki Udondashi Gold. The short answer is I just do what I want to do. Whenever I have an inkling to ink a pen, I ink it. However, I currently have 19 pens inked, and that's about the amount that it's actually exceeding the amount of pens that I'm comfortable with having inked at the same time. So I'm trying to just, use the ones that I like using. And then if I notice that I'm not reaching for one pen or pen and ink pairing, I will unink it, get it down. And so I have capped the pens and inks that I ink right now. So I do sometimes have an inkling, oh, I would love to see how this ink looks in a pen, or I really need to use this pen because I want to know how it feels. And so I made a little list that is called pens I want to use next and ink bottles I want to use next. There's a lot of inks on here. And so, yeah, these are pens and inks that I would like to use sooner rather than later, because I'm not using them a lot right now. As I said, I don't have a lot of time. It's gonna take quite a while to get all of those pens out. I don't have a list where I rotate through each pen in a specific amount of time. Like, I could have an Excel sheet, or Google Sheets where all of the pens are listed, and then I just go through the list one by one, or I go through the inks one by one. That's not something that I do. My main goal with all of the things that I do with my pens right now, after actually sharing that very first 8 pen questions video that I did with Leanne in the Zoom, I realized, and after talking to quite a few other YouTubers out there, I talked to Karina Loves to Plan, I talked to Handmade by Lorelei. I have found, as I said earlier, I love using the word angst, but that is really what it is. I attached so much overthinking, so much angst, so much anxiety to using pens and inks that basically my main goal since then has been to stop that and just enjoy. And so, yes, I'm not inking all of my pens all of the time because I know that that will make me uncomfortable, but I'm not sticking to a specific number anymore. I don't unink and ink my pens every month. I don't have rules for any of this because I want to be as free as possible. And so I choose the inks and pens I will use next through this list. Whenever I feel like, wow, I have used all of these, I will unink some, and then I have more room to ink, and then I will go through this list. And if none of them speak to me, then I might use another pen or ink in my inking. Basically, I choose by feeling, how I feel in the moment, spur of the moment, maybe. That will be probably my best answer for this question. Okay, so I have 2 more things to say to this specific questions. I do not go by picking a pen first or picking an ink first. As I said, there is inks that I want to use, there's pens that I want to use, and whatever I feel like in the moment. Let's say I'm picking the Leonardo Memento Zero Kintsugi. Then I think, okay, it has a Jowo nib, it's a medium nib. What ink would I think works well in this pen? I might choose from these bottles right here. I also might just go with whatever my gut feels at the moment. I do try, with the knowledge I have of a pen and an ink, to pair them well so that I don't have disappointing pen and ink pairing experiences. Maybe that is also a way that this question can be interpreted. I try to use an ink that will work well with the pen, or I try to use a pen that will work well with the ink, depending on what I choose first. I don't choose the inks first always. I don't choose the pens first always. Either one, but I do try to have enough knowledge, or actually I Google inks if I don't know enough about the ink yet or the nib yet, and I try to pair it with an ink or a pen that works really well. And then I try it, and then I know, well, it's a great pick, or no, that is not working at all. And from all the information that I gather every time I ink a specific pen, or I put a specific ink into a variety of different pens, I can find pens or inks that work really well, if that makes sense. So maybe one ink will only work in one specific pen, and then if I want to use that pen or if I want to use that ink, that's the ink, or you know how I mean, what I'm talking about. That is one thing that I try to really be very mindful of, because I hate nothing more than having an unsatisfying pen and ink pairing. Also, if I notice that every time I ink a pen, or I do inking pens and penning inks, when I notice I don't reach for a certain pen at all, that might be one that I put on the possibly for sale list. I will ink it again. I will see if there's something wrong or what is the reason why I didn't pick this in a 6-month period. And if I don't like it anymore, I will let it go at that point. So yeah, that's my answer to question number 2. And I know this is going to be a very long video, but you didn't expect less from me, right? For the third question, I'm using the Waterman Karen in black with gold trim. It has a medium 18 karat gold nib, and the ink that is in here is Kobe number 19 Minatogawa Lime. The question is, what pen do you prefer using for longer writing sessions? I filmed a whole video about this. It is called Top 5 Pens of All Times. And I have to say that my number 1 pen right now is still the same pen. It is the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande with a number 8 titanium nib and an ebonite feed. This gives me all the right feelings. It has a very wide grip section that feels very comfortable. It has the perfect length, and the nib gives me a little bit of feedback, but it's still very enjoyable to write with. And so this is probably my most favorite pen right now, and the one that I would use for longer writing sessions. But there's most of the pens on that list: the Pelikan M800, the Pilot Custom 823, the Sailor 1911 Large or Pro Gear. They all feel very comfortable, and I really enjoy using them for longer writing sessions. Another pen that I like using for long writing sessions is the Benu Euphoria. That's also quite a big pen. So I do try to sell all the pens that I don't enjoy writing with for a longer time. So I have a small amount of pens left that aren't necessarily comfortable for long writing sessions, but I am pretty good at letting go of all the pens that aren't comfortable in the long writing sessions. Well, I guess we're doing the same thing one more time. For question number 4, I am using the Pelikan M800 in blue stripe. It has a medium 18 karat gold nib, and it is filled with Sailor 50 States, California. This pen is from the 90s. And question number 4 is, what is your all-time favorite pen? So I can't really say what my all-time favorite pen is, for the exact same reason that I said earlier. I am very picky with what pens I bring into my collection right now. And most of them have to adhere or meet all of the criteria that I have towards a pen. And otherwise, I usually don't add them in. And so I do really have quite a few pens that every time I use them, I think this must be my favorite pen. And then I use another pen and I'm like, oh, no, but well, maybe this is my all-time favorite pen. And I've pulled them out, and I mentioned them in question number 3 again before. These 4 definitely are among my all-time favorite pens. And there is one more that I really need to add here. It is this. This is the only maker pen so far, but I want to add more Skogsy pens. because they are just such amazing quality. My all-time favorite pens are pens that meet all of those criteria, and you know, I'm really happy that it's not just one pen. I love that I am writing with this Leonardo Momento Zero Grande. I'm gonna write with all of them so you can see what they look like. It's a split between the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande and the titanium nib. That is important. And it doesn't really matter which Pelikan M800 I am using, but every time I'm using the Pelikan M800, I'm like, maybe I really like this one more. Pelikan M800. Then I'm using the Pilot Custom 823. And I'm like, yeah, maybe this is the one that's my favorite one. And I really like that I have this experience with these pens. Or actually Pro Gear. I'm not very picky about the nib size, to be honest, or this Skogsy. Choya. And I'm not sure if it's important. This is a 14mm threading thingy-majig. So that's the ones that I really enjoy right now. And I hope you're okay with me not naming one. I am writing question number 5 with the Lamy 2000 Black Macrolon. It has a, guess what, medium nib, 14 karat gold, and it is filled with Birmingham & Co. Snowflake. The question is, if you have to choose one nib size, which would it be? This is an extremely easy answer for you because I really love medium nibs, and I really love Western medium nibs as well as Japanese medium nibs. And so just by getting a variety of pens with different nibs in the same nib size, I have so many different writing experiences that, you know, the medium Sailor nib feels different than the medium Pilot nib, feels different than the medium Pelikan nib, which is a huge broad nib, which is different than the Waterman Koren medium nib, which is different than the Lamy 2000 medium nib, which is different than the titanium medium nib that I have on my Leonardo Momento Zero. And you can clearly see that when I add a new pen to my collection, it seems to be a medium nib. And that is the reason why. I really love medium nibs. They usually work really well for me, especially for journaling, where I don't have to fit the nib size into a tiny grid, or for letter writing as well. I can use as much space as I want, and those medium nibs never disappoint. The pen I used for question number 6 is the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande in Primary Manipulation Light with a medium titanium nib. It is filled with Tachia Sabi Midori. And question number 6 is, what is your favorite nib grind? I have one that is specific to functional pens. This is the Reverse Architect nib grind. It has a very extra fine, almost needlepoint nib on the right side and an architect nib on the reverse side. I love using this in my my creative journal. Let me see if I can find this. This is with the reverse side. This is the journaling. I love this a lot. If I only take one pen with me for creative journaling, it's this one. It gives me all the line variation that I need. But for regular journaling that is not long form journaling with my colorful inks and pens, I haven't really found a perfect or favorite nib grind yet. I found that when I am using all the stubby grinds, cursive italic, cursive smooth italic, stub, I get very uncomfortable with my hand position very quickly. And I also don't like that as soon as I move my hand a tiny bit, the writing looks different. And that's something that I just don't like that. I want to write with this in a second. So I'm going to do that first. No, I'm going to do this first and then I'm going to show you. But what I actually really enjoyed using recently is this Techo nib by CY, which is an interpretation of the Naginaga Togi nib grind. And I think I want to explore this a little more. Maybe, I'm not sure if a smooth architect would be also a similar thing. So this is the Tokyo Station pens. Techo. And it gives me line variation, but instead of the stub line variation would be broad downstrokes and narrow side strokes, whereas the Techo nib as well as architect nibs have a finer downstrokes and a wider side stroke. And so maybe the way that I'm holding my pens, it makes the writing more smooth for me, and it doesn't really matter if I'm holding it like this or like this or like that. It just feels more enjoyable in overall writing for me. So maybe that is an avenue to explore these types of nibs. I need to figure out like how does the Techo nib compare to a smoother architect nib. I want to try Gina Salarino's perspective grind, which again, I know it is something similar to this, but I'm not sure if it's their interpretation of a smooth architect nib or a reverse architect nib or a Naginaga Togi grind. I could explore the grinds that CY from Tokyo Station Pens offers. That I'm not there yet. But this, when I used it in February, I had a really great writing experience. The feeling of the nib touching the paper felt absolutely lovely, which I struggle with my stub nibs quite a bit. So that's something that I want to keep in mind, and maybe I'll get rid of my stub nibs. I'm not sure yet. Maybe I'll keep them for the occasional stubby writing. And then this one, I talked about this earlier. This one is the Reverse Architect by Kirk Spear of Pen Realm. And it does fine, very fine. Right side up and reverse side is, and then down strokes. However, this is not as smooth as this. So if I hit it with a wrong angle, you can hear how it scratches. So you need to be more mindful in how you place the architect nib on the paper in comparison to the Techo nib. The Techo nib is made so that it gives you a different line width at different writing angles, which makes it more usable if you adjust your writing angle while writing. It still works. It looks a little different, but it's smooth. It's smooth in all different angles. I misread the fifth question. I mean, it's basically the same, but if I have to choose one nib size, which one would you choose? I answered the question correctly. I would still choose medium nibs, but it might be a little differently worded than what is your favorite nib.
This pen is the Sailor 1911 Large Wicked Witch of the West with a broad 21 karat gold nib. It is filled with Color Verse Witch by Starlight. It's a Goulet Pens exclusive ink, and the question that is asked is, if you could only use one ink for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I feel like I'm cheating on all the questions, but if I could pick one for my functional pens, it would be Diatramentis Document Black. It works in all the pens that I put them in. Platinum Carbon Black doesn't work well in my Pilot Vanishing Point Extra Fine. Tramentis Document. And I'm not really sure if that would, if I had to pick only one, I'm not sure if I went with Document Black, because I think if I used a Pigma mild liner or something, are they mild liners? Pigma Micron pen or another waterproof pen for sketching, I could replace the functional fountain pens with other pens, but those writing experiences I could not really replace or replace. And so I think I would pick a teal ink or blue, green, maybe Tsukio. Another contender would be Kujaku. I would go with either a really well-known Pilot Iroshizuku ink or a diamine. And I think I prefer the Iroshizuku inks because they work so well in most pens. Now, where do I have a swappity thing here? I haven't emptied this bottle yet, but I would actually repurpose. See, I don't know. Would it be Iroshizuku Tsukio? I really love these colors, as you can see. No. I think I need to swatch Iroshizuku Tsukio. I feel like this is too blue in my opinion. I like using it, but I think I prefer a more green leaning blue-green. So let's try the Kujaku, because I think I would choose between either one of those. Here we go. Yeah, I would use this one for the rest of my life. Would I get sick of it? Most likely, because I actually really love rainbow. Unfortunately, that is not a color. But yeah, that is my preference. I love having a rainbow of colors inked in my fountain pens and then being able to do stuff like that. So forget Tsukio. I would go with Kujaku. Yeah, what would you choose? I find that is the most obnoxious question that I don't want to answer, because what is the fun of using fountain pen? Now, see, I am questioning myself, because if I put this ink into all of those medium nibs, I would have a different line width, I would have a different shading, it would look different in all of those medium nibs, so that would be a lot of fun. But would I want to write with the same ink for the next, hopefully, 50 years? No, I wouldn't. I gain most of my enjoyment from using fountain pens by being able to choose such a huge variety of inks.
I am using the Mayfair Pens Noldor. I called it Blue Universe. It has a medium monarch nib by Shown Design, and the ink that is in here is Diamine Sees the Night. And the 8th question is asking, what is an absolute deal breaker for you for a pen, or for an ink, or for both?
Well, a pen that isn't comfortable for me is a deal breaker. I try to release all those pens into the wild fairly quickly after I purchase them. And I actually try to not even bring them into my house. Sometimes I have FOMO, or I think a pen will work and then it doesn't. Then I sell it. But what is a deal breaker, or an actual really big pet peeve for me, is when the ink is evaporating. Now, what does that mean? If you saw me writing with this Skoxy Choya earlier, I haven't used this in about 2 weeks. This is on me. Of course, the ink is going to be drying out, or in the nib, or evaporating. Most of the pens that I have used today have evaporated a bit, because I'm not using them as much as I would love to. But an absolute deal breaker for me in regards to evaporation is if I ink a pen today and I'm writing with it tomorrow and it looks 3 shades darker. If it doesn't start even because it dried out, that stuff drives me nuts. And I actually sold one of my favorite pens in shape and comfort because I just could not deal with the evaporation. That is me. Other people might be able to just keep it in their collection because they love how it feels and looks. I couldn't. So evaporation is a really big one in a pen. The other things, even I have a Sailor Progress Slim that isn't super comfortable. I still really enjoy having it in my collection for those rare uses because I like how it looks. It's not that comfortable, but it also doesn't evaporate as badly as other pens. Actually, my Sailor pens don't evaporate much at all. I have heard from other people that their Sailors get darker by the second. That is not an experience that I have. Now, for inks, I was very opinionated about 2 inks that are too light, that aren't legible. I don't enjoy using those in my journaling pens. That is true, but that isn't a deal breaker for me anymore because I have this set of play pens now. And those light inks that I would usually give away, not even put into pens, they are stunning when used in a pilot parallel. So let me grab the one that So the problem that I have currently is that I put inks into these pens and had them in here. These are clear barrels. These look almost identical. but they are not. One of them is Milky Ocean, for instance, and it's not noticeable at all. Which one is the... Oh, I swapped it out. I didn't write it down though. Let's see what this is. Yeah, I think this is Milky Ocean. So this would drive me nuts in my regular inky pens. But with these, does it really matter what color the ink is? I put it in there and it works. So why should I don't really care if the ink evaporates and looks different. So this one is Troublemaker Petrichor, and I don't enjoy using this in a pen, in a journaling pen. But in this pen, even though it darkened up quite a bit, man, it looks so good. I love how it chroma shades, multi-shades into these, falls apart. This one is Sailor Gentle Pesh. Now, I am storing these nib up, so yes, when there is evaporation, there will not be ink in the feed. I am totally okay with that. Again, this is a play pen, and for some reason, I can have different expectations for different pens. This one I wouldn't put in a pen to journal with, but I love it in this play pen. So my whole perspective on inks has changed just recently. I'm not kicking one out just because it's too light, but there is something that I don't enjoy with inks, and that is two things. One is when the shading is, the contrast between the light and the dark in the shading is so high that the writing becomes almost illegible. And that is totally the case with this ink. You can see how dark it is in the dark spots and how light it is in the lighter spots. And if I wrote a whole paragraph with this, my eyes would just cross. I wouldn't know where to look first. That is something that I don't like, and those inks I don't normally use because I really love this pen, this ink in this pen. I am making an exception, but it's not an ink that I would purchase a bottle of. Another thing that I don't specifically enjoy in a pen, in an ink, is when it's so highly sheening that I don't see the base color of the ink. And that is, for instance, this one. It's actually also the same as this Tachi Asabi Midori. I like it, but it's very sheeny, very sheeny. I have a sample. I will use the sample, but I'm not really sure that I want to purchase a bottle of this ink. I have Teranishi Gentle Grain, which does almost the exact same color change, but it's less sheeny, and so I like that more. So I'm going to write this down, and then I'll be back for the very last question of this video.
I'm using the Benu Talisman in collaboration with Gourmet Pens, Dark Unicorn, with a medium steel nib that is inked with Diamine Lavender to write this bonus question. And the question is, what is a pen that everyone should have?
Well, so I actually read this question as what is a pen that everyone should try? And I think that's two different things. So I'm going to tell you the pen that I think everyone should try at least once. And actually, I think you should own it. This is the Asveen V126. This one has a medium nib. This is a vacuum filler pen. And what I love about this vacuum filler pen is that the section actually screws off, so you can extremely easily clean this pen out. You have a let me screw this back on. You have a vacuum filler pen that you can screw on. If you screw this on and shut off the feed, the ink compartment from the feed. I can't talk today. This is extremely easy to travel with. It feels so well made. And I just think that what you get for the money that you pay for this pen, it feels so much better than many of the beginner pens that I have heard being recommended. So if you're looking for your next pen and you haven't tried this Asveen V126, I highly recommend you try this out. Now, the pen that I think everyone should try is actually a Lamy All-Star with a gold nib. I love, let me say the nib you should try. If you have a Lamy that has this feed where you can easily remove the nib like so, you should absolutely try a Lamy gold nib for this pen. I think this nib is the nib that can elevate your writing experience by 80%, from a regular normal steel nib to a wow, what is this pen? I have to try this. I really love writing with gold nibbed pens. I am of the impression that there is a difference that is noticeable. There's people who say it doesn't matter if it's steel or not. Yes, because I also get a different writing experience with the titanium nib, but I haven't had, there's only so many steel nib makers out there. And so once you have tried Jowo, Bock, and Schmidt steel nibs, what else is there? Then you most likely will have to branch out into the gold nib section. And this one, if you're done with all of your steel nib homework, is a really great step up as a next level fountain pen. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching, for hanging out with me today. I would love to hear your answers to these questions. If you are on YouTube and you have thought about making a YouTube video, start with this one. I would love to see it. I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to hear if you agree or disagree with me on all of those opinions. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. Until then, bye.